Welcome to the Reinvent You show. I'm George.
I'm Azlan. It's about seeing everyday challenges
Differently.
We're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff. I think the first one we want to talk about is AI. So yeah, it's been really interesting. I think AI has been gathering a lot of, traction in my life as well as work and your life.
Me too.
So
it's changed my life dramatically.
How so?
Oh, well, my entire business got reinvented through AI the moment LLM landed. Within 3 months. It shifted us dramatically.
Right.
And then even the way I work changed, and even the way I coach changed. Everything changed because of AI.
It's easier, I would think, right?
It's easier. I'm probably quadrupled my value of delivery and reduced my effort by probably 80%.
80%.
80%. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Now, you know that I used to do deconstructs on perception where I would collect what you're thinking, feeling, and acting, behaving off a specific circumstance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I would literally have to take a thought, connect the emotions that go with that thought with you, and then connect the behavior that goes with that. Then I would have to literally take all that in to reveal through lived experience and logic, critical thinking, what are the underlying assumptions that would explain why you think, feel, act that way.
Wow. And
Right?
I can imagine that taking hours because...
No, it didn't take, it took longer, but in that moment, I would probably pause, feel the whole picture.
Yeah.
Because I'd done it for so long, I was good at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I trained coaches to do it, but I knew it was cognitively very hard. Because you're having to hold a lot of data of cause and effect on think, feel, act, and you're holding it in the context of a circumstance, and then you're having to uncover the underlying assumptions that are hidden that you haven't revealed yet to help finish the picture of understanding why you're thinking, feeling, behaving that way. But anyway, it comes out, and when it comes out, you articulate it in a way so it comes across like a belief. In other words, when you are feeling this way, or thinking this way, which makes you feel this way, which makes you behave this way, right? It is because I'm assuming, so more in the first person, when I'm thinking this way and feeling this way and behaving this way, it is because I'm assuming that this is the way I am and this is how life is. And so all these underlying assumptions come out.
Yeah.
And then I would add this dimension to the belief, which is despite the fact, and then I would bring in contrast on your better judgment to expose the absurdity of those underlying assumptions.
Yeah.
Right? I just have to do that manually.
It's insane.
For like all the data, 15 thoughts, 15 emotions, right?
Yeah, I remember.
At least, right? Exactly.
And that's just one topic.
assessment.
Then you got 3 assessments.
Yeah, but even doing one, right?
Yeah.
So then when AI came, I went, oh, hang on a minute. Can I literally reveal the entire process that I'm following? Because this is just the logic sequence. And now that I understand it's leveraging universal patterns of language, logics patterns, can I give it enough context to make it reveal the things that I reveal? And so I was able to test it because I knew what the answers should be because I'd had a decade of living in the data of it. So when I was testing it, it actually worked.
Wow. That must have been a great moment for you.
Couldn't sleep that night.
You must have been thinking, I'm free, all my time saved.
Yeah, but also because here I was wanting to develop a pocket coach, and it was like having an instinctive understanding that AI should exist, but no one ever telling you what it was and that it's coming. And so here I am creating a surfboard, shaping, spray painting, waxing, and people walk past like Noah's Ark. People walk past, go, "What are you doing?" Preparing for a wave. There's something like this thing, I don't know what it's called, but it's this thing that comes and this thing is for it. And people go, what are you talking about? Like, it kind of feels logical, but it doesn't exist. So I don't,
Yeah.
And I go, I don't know. I'm just preparing. And then the wave came and the surfboard was ready.
Oh, nice. Timing.
Which is why it only took 3 months from the time LLM dropped and me getting my head into it and using it, giving it a good shake for me to freak out and realize I can use it with API backend. And then it's like, whoa, not only were we able to pivot and develop with the AI backend for the Pocket Coach, but all the coach application tools of empowerment, disempowerment assessments, and purpose creator, I'm now developing the applications for that. And I've already done the empowerment, disempowerment ones where you actually, did I use it with you?
Empowerment, disempowerment.
Did I enter it and then press a button and then the subconscious beliefs came out?
I believe you did for the family breakdown.
Yeah. But did I do it in an application or was I copy pasting and using my own prompts to do it front end?
Oh, I don't know, because I think we ended the session and then you sent me the document after. So I don't know what you did in the back end. So I don't know if it was.
No, but when I was doing it with you.
Oh, right.
Was I.
No.
Was I getting it all in the template, then copy pasting it into the front end?
Yes.
Yeah, now I don't have to do that.
Oh, wow.
Now I can do it in the template, but I can also fill it in directly into the application, press submit, and it just does it. And then press submit, and it does a 52 principle report.
Wow.
Alignment or disalignment based on empowerment, disempowerment, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So AI, so when I say it reduced the effort and gave 3 times more, it's because I couldn't spend an hour and a half on a personal assessment and then go and get to 52 principles where I explain how you're aligned to them in an empowerment assessment or not aligned to them. I used to get through maybe 12, 20, half max if with the time left to show you how many principles you're not aligned with, for example.
Yeah.
Now I just press a button and it does the full 52 in like a minute.
That's insane.
Right. So I'm not exaggerating. And it's not like, and does it do as good a job as me? No, it doesn't. But for the effort, it gets you to 90%.
Yeah.
90, 95 even sometimes 98. And on some of them, 100% it nails it, where I'm in awe, right? But generally, say it's a 90 to 95%. Well, then hang on a minute. It's a tool. We're not making it dictate to us the truth. We're letting it do all the heavy lifting of presenting what's likely to be the true. And because it gets it 90% to 95% close enough, we finish the job.
Yeah.
And we edit and we make it accurate to us. That is so awesome,
Yeah, I can only imagine. Like you said, it does all the heavy lifting and then you cherry pick and then you either expand on it or,
Yeah, you edit and expand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of it doesn't need any. Like last night, the client's going, oh my gosh, that is spot on. Oh my gosh, that is spot on. Like that's all she was saying for each subconscious belief.
Yeah.
And so then I just pressed 52 principles. We went through a handful together just for her to go, oh, yeah, I could see how I'm clashing with the principles. But then I'd give her the whole thing into the template while she's with me and email it to her. And now she's got a 52 principle report.
Nice.
So this is all because of AI.
That is insane.
It's
I'm really keen to
insane.
try it for myself because I've got a recurring issue that's been coming up and I want to do the breakdown, but I'm like, oh no, it's
Well, we're due to do another one, so let's just do it.
another time. Can your Pocket Coach thing do that?
It's
different.
The Pocket Coach, what it does is it helps you scope a circumstance,
Right.
evaluate its impact on you and all of your life so you could really come to terms with how important it is for you to have a breakthrough in that circumstance.
Right.
Because remember, the brain's always synthesizing, desensitizing, distracting, numbing away from confrontation and hurt. So it's very difficult to be motivated to prioritize confronting issues, critically thinking them, and then prioritizing a way to break through with the way the brain works. The brain only will prioritize once it's pushed too far. Right? So it's very difficult for us to thrive when the brain only really cares to survive as a default primal processing machine.
And it doesn't really solve the underlying problem, so it repeats and it repeats and repeats because, like you said, you're not motivated to figure it out and solve it, Whereas this thing, I'm really keen to see how this is going to help me as well, because I hear a lot about it from you, and I would love to see how it actually works.
Well, I've been a bit confused why I haven't just given you access to play with it. So we'll do that this week, 100%. But anyway, so then what it does is it does the deconstruct like personal assessment, but it just does it for up to 10 emotions maximum. 3 initially. AI will bring to you the typical extra 7 emotions beyond the 3 that you chose. But as you know, when we do our comprehensive one, we can go to 30 emotions and then reveal 15 or more thoughts. But the way we do it there is it's quality. It just works. It's a different experience. The Pocket Coach, because it's doing a lot of the heavy lifting, facilitating you, it can't overdo it.
Right.
It can't overdo it because you're sitting there and you're answering questions. It's already quite comprehensive. It's already a 40-minute to an hour experience, the Pocket Coach.
Wow.
Yeah. Because it's like a coaching session.
That is so crazy.
But what it does is when it shows you you've deviated from a handful of principles instead of 52, it will curate the ones that are most relevant to helping you realize what's in your way. But then what it does is it replaces the old disempowering beliefs that are deviating from the principles with new empowering beliefs that align to the principles.
Right.
And then it gives you the typical thoughts of someone who now believes and aligns to the principles in that circumstance.
Right.
And it gets you to confirm, yes, this is the way now I feel I'd be thinking because this is my alignment and what I believe in that situation. And then it'll give you the emotional state that naturally happens if you're believing and thinking that way. And then it gives you 10 behavior actions and things to do to finish the job and become that person and act on it and have the breakthrough. That's what the Pocket Coach does.
That is crazy. So what you're saying is a person might come in feeling confused or angry or whatever, the shadow self, and then come out of that experience feeling, I know exactly what I need to do, feeling empowered basically.
Lighter.
More
balanced. Hope and confidence is restored.
It's awesome.
Because you're now seeing things you didn't see before, and you now saw how you were accidentally making it worse. But the Pocket Coach frames it, it normalizes it, it validates you, it gives you permission to be a work in progress. It keeps reminding you, don't be hard on yourself. This is very normal to be stuck this way because that is the truth, So the whole framework is cased in validating you to just enjoy managing your perception. And, I go back to what we were just saying earlier, right? As humans, if we identify with ourselves as flesh and bone, then our identity will always just trade out of the primal because it means we're just flesh and bone to protect, to keep alive. It's only when we tap into our identity being higher consciousness that we can be artists of a moment, that we can celebrate higher vibrations of living, loving, adventure-seeking, innovating, right? It's only when we embrace that identity it expands beyond flesh and bone, are we then motivated to manage the perception in the way of thriving? Otherwise, we're just left to manage survival issues only.
Why do you think that is so? Do you think it's related to the way we were educated, the education system? Like why are we just built to survive and not like all of this stuff? If I knew it since I was like 10, it would have been great.
Yeah, it would have been great for me too.
I don't think it's prioritized like the
No, the education system is not designed to connect you to your soul. Is it?
Should it?
It's designed to just teach you how to learn, how to remember, how to learn things and
Memorize.
and learn things that are perceived by society and governments and corporations as important,
Yeah.
right? For good, productive, you can get a job, you can provide for your family. That's kind of the engine room of education. It's like, can we get you to exercise your brain enough to kind of remember stuff?
Yeah.
So that you can retain important information, recall it in a timely manner, and make good decisions to be of value in whatever job you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. They don't have subjects to say, hey, this subject is about you connecting with the depth of who you really are.
To be in the flow.
Yeah, but in I'm imagining, right, because I didn't go to a Catholic school or religious-based schools, but I'm imagining where they want you to learn about that you have a soul, a spirit, that you're more than flesh and bone.
Yep.
A lot of religions, what they've done is that they've personified God to a point where there's a separation where heaven's over there and you're here.
Yeah.
And so there's this sense of oversimplifying the relationship between us and the unseen. It's a gross oversimplification, right? And so what that means is we miss the nuances of the elegance of what has been created, the algorithms in nature, in physics, in the universe, and how we are fractals of it. So everything is an integrated ecosystem. And so, like, let me shortcut this, right, to make the point. If you look closely at a tree, right, you'll notice that it can't survive and thrive without balance, right? And how does it achieve that balance? It knows it can't grow without its root system growing equally underneath to stabilize. It knows that it can't grow. Yeah, it can't grow without the trunk thickening enough at the bottom of the base to support the branches because of the wind and all that. It knows that everything has to be in proportion.
Yes.
It also knows that flexibility of give and take is critical in the wind. If you overextend, you snap.
Very, very true.
Right? If you're too flexible, you will lose your leaves because the branches will just smash against each other too easily and you'll shed your leaves, right? You'll damage your leaves. The algorithms in the way branches flex in balance is incredible, isn't it? When you think about it, right? All engineering. Then you look at each tree and you realize that there's a signature essence in the tree. That seed has its signature essence around what makes that tree an oak tree, a different type of tree, right? Now look at us. We have our own signature essence. No one is you but you. You're your own type of tree. And also, where's your belonging? In your roots of knowing you're connected. You're grounded in belonging. What a coincidence as an identity. We have to follow the same fractal pattern as a tree.
Yeah.
And that where's our tolerance? Where's our compassion? Where's our patience with ourselves and others in how we're graceful in the obstacles and the pitfalls? So that was me just trying to say that there is so much elegance in the systems of nature and the universe that we personally are a part of.
Yeah.
And only when you have the eyes to see these fractals and you look at you as imbued with the same magic that makes life be able to move from form to form and express in infinite forms.
Yeah.
It's then we start to get excited about, can I craft my character to shift my perception? To become something that
be in control,
that makes me more excited, makes my heart
sing.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that so now circle back to education system. Where is that? Where is that knowledge, that education to make children light up with how connected they are to nature and the universe in such an intimate, beautiful way.
I honestly believe that's on the cards now, because
I think so. I agree with you.
the reason why I say that, when in my leadership course, I've realized there was no mention of IQ, zero.
Yeah.
So what we did was I think, so they asked us, what do you want as from a good leader? Like, what's your perception of a good leader?
Yeah.
Everyone was saying about how they have to be kind, grounded, calm, what else? It was all about empathy and all about EQ. And there was nothing in the IQ column.
Yeah, because they overcooked IQ for decades, now they're trying to counterbalance it
I think so.
and resuscitate EQ in the equation. But definitely IQ plays a role because we're designed to flex our logic, recognize patterns, So EQ and IQ working together is magic.
Yeah, it's magic.
Yeah. But they don't have to flog the IQ because they already did. It's institutionalized.
Yeah.
They really need to resuscitate EQ into the equation.
Yeah, and so it was really interesting. So they made us do this thing called a print survey. It's like this set of questions that you answer. It's like, and then it automatically knows, it depending on how you answer it. And then it comes up with your best self and your shadow self. And my best self was spot on. So they score you like you're a 4-1 or you're a 3-4, just patterns, And then you start looking at your shadow self, and a few people sort of cringed and went, some people are not like us where they
embrace
and do like introspectives. So some of them were quite taken aback by that and just pushed it aside. Whereas for me, it was like all juicy, like I'm saying, I know this about myself. Yeah, I'm impatient.
Good on you, Azlan.
No, it's fun for me.
That's awesome.
But to teach that now in leadership course, and then the leaders came in and started talking, and I asked them all the same 3 questions. I said, what do you look for in a leader? What's your perception of a good leader? And then a lot of them said, there were a few different answers, but most of them agreed with, not agreed, but they literally said, I look for humility, I look for kindness, I look for, someone who's calm and grounded, and someone who can make decisions, in the heat of the moment. Sort of, there was an example of, this guy who worked in the Marine, in Australia, and, he was put in a leadership position, and he had 40 minutes to figure out how to save a bunch of people at the island without killing anyone. And he had to lead a whole squadron at 25, and so it was really interesting how that now is now a priority. Back in the day, I remember, you have to be a douchebag, you have to be rude, you have to be come across as someone who's very assertive and toxic, almost like toxic masculinity. And I remember it was so bad that they had anti-bullying wardens on the floors in Melbourne because it was so terrible. Like they would just swear and throw papers and just show that they are the alpha. And now it's changed like completely. So they look for this stuff. So that's why I feel there is hope. And I actually said, they asked me, what is your goal here, Azlan? And I said, well, I just want to know if I just want to know if this is for me. Because from what I understand from being a leader, it's all toxic and it's all about, ego fights, sword fights,
That's
politics.
really interesting for you to be raw and real about them. That leadership has been given a bad name by people in leadership roles struggling, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly the optics is that what leadership looks like?
Yeah, and I got
obviously it isn't.
influenced. I got influenced bad. So, people were saying it's politics, bureaucracy, not getting anything done. And so then, my relationship at the time with leadership. And so now I'm sort of open to the idea. And I said, you know what? I'll actually give this a go now. Because I see the people that I'll be working with. And in this team of 20 of us, man, everyone is kind. Everyone is driven. Like we have a little task to do and everybody's chipping in. Like I said, wow, this is next level stuff.
It's beautiful.
It's really good.
It's great when that collaboration just becomes flow.
And everyone's driven. Flow. I need to talk about flow as well.
Yes.
So they asked about flow. And
Flow
they said,
state.
yeah, when are you in your flow state? And and then they had to rephrase it, when are you your best self? But, and it was so interesting because that happened in the leadership course. We had a new leader in our team and she did a whole session about flow state. So what do you need to be in your flow state? Some people say, I need to go for walks. I need to work in a dark room. And so she's like, go ahead, do whatever you need to do to get into your flow state. Just tell me what you need.
Yeah.
Like what?
That is really, really good smarts.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Like
it's also honoring the individuality of each person and leveraging their alignment to tap into that flow. to get
amazing.
into flow. I mean, for me, flow, I could look out at a tree out the window, and for some reason that just puts me into that trance state, which induces the flow, you know. But, you know, we talk about leadership. By technical definition, you look into a dictionary, you just look at the technical definition of a leader. What is leadership? How would you explain that, Azlan? Get technical.
Oh, man.
Leadership.
I don't know, man, shows how, I guess for me, it's about, let me think about this. I've been introduced to this concept of servant leadership, where to me, leadership is providing the insight to more like developing your people than doing things on yourself, like empowering your people.
But why are we assuming already
that it's about people?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it can be.
Yeah.
But can't we take a step before that and just look at the definition? Because then we could say, well, where's our leadership for ourselves?
I don't even know the answer to that question.
All right, well, then let's unpack it, right?
Yeah. What is leadership?
So I just thought when I said it to you, there's the word ship in it.
Okay.
Now, leader.
Lead a ship.
As in leadership, it's almost like you're creating the vessel for a destination that's desirable, that's purposeful, that's worth arriving at. And you are investing in the resources and the smarts to get there, which means anything you need to align becomes important because you have to reduce friction. If you don't reduce friction in decision-making, in actions, you won't get there.
Yeah, because
you'll burn out before you get there.
Right.
Right? So if you don't align to the wind, if you don't align to the crew, supporting each other, playing to their strengths, if you don't align to the specialists who know how to calibrate navigation and the stars,
if you don't trust the crew.
So everything around alignment for frictionless optimizing of resources to get there with innovation to keep outsmarting the obstacles that present you friction.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Now that means the crew may be just you because your leadership is about your well-being, your personal goals of who you want to be.
Wow.
Do you want to lead yourself into a character that represents the depth of your heart and vision for what you desire you want to be?
For sure.
Yeah. So when you ask, am I interested in leadership? It's like, hell yeah. Why wouldn't you be? Because leadership is about getting really good at getting to B from A.
I love that.
Whatever that B is.
I think that's the best explanation of what leadership is I've ever heard in my life. Because I don't actually know what it meant, but then it's funny because my son appeared on the
oh my gosh, show that on the camera.
I will show it to the guys.
That's so cool.
But it was so interesting because my sister-in-law, it's basically him talking to another child, and it says leadership, and I'm in a leadership course, and now we're talking about leadership, talk about timing.
And then I land that, and that's the first time I've defined leadership.
Oh, really? I thought sounds like you've practiced it.
No, but because there's lots of interconnected parts to it, it was easy for me just to put articulation to it. You know what I mean? But I went on a journey there. It's like I was leading myself into defining leadership.
I really like it.
In a way that would, because look, if you can distill down to technical, interconnected logic bits, that's all, you know? And so I just started with why is leader and ship together? It's a vessel thing. It's, embody the vessel.
So this is the thing that was so funny. I joke with my team. I said, "Looks like my son made it before me." And it's so funny.
Now I'm competing with my son.
Yeah.
I'm going to trip him in the hallway.
And they said, maybe you should learn from him. Ask him what he's doing right at work, at school. It's so funny because we just joke and laugh about it. But, I actually reflected at, I feel like I already have all of the qualities of a leader. And it's only like it's funny you brought up that oak tree as well, because I told myself and my wife, I said, I know I'm an oak tree.
Really?
I know I am. So I know that when I plant, like, it's like planting an oak tree and then just trusting that it's growing. And I know that it looks like a small tree or whatever tree it is, like medium, but I already know it's an oak tree. So I don't need to dig it and try to figure out, am I an oak tree? Am I an oak tree? Do you know what I'm saying? So I said, I know I'm an oak tree. I told my previous manager this as well. You don't need to validate the fact that I'm an oak tree. I already know I am. It's time, it will catch up. Yeah. People are going to realize it and it's going to catch up. So I feel really empowered, and a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now, it's so funny that timing, the time it takes for people to realize is always delayed. It's always your knowing that comes first.
Yeah. Hey, Azlan, do you know what makes an oak tree unique?
No.
Well, I'm pretty sure this is true, right?
Okay.
An oak tree's root system is symmetrical to the branch system above it.
No way.
Yeah. But I, like I said, I may be wrong, but I honestly think that's true. And so we should double check that. Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah. So right now, Aslan's doing a Jamie on Joe Rogan. He's doing a research.
I wish I had like a third person to help me with the videos.
We could go, Jamie, find this out.
No, but it's so interesting that we landed on that as well. Because when you said oak tree, my heart like sort of beat. I'm like, wow, I just used that term 3 times in the last 2 weeks. And so it's been it's just so cool. Hold on. It's an oak tree's root system symmetrical, was it?
Yeah.
It's so funny now. Everybody fact checks you. I have this guy, a data analyst, who's a friend of mine, and he's always fact checking with ChatGPT and Grok. Oh, it is not actually perfectly symmetrical. Wait, hold on. Maybe I asked it the wrong question. Don't worry. Lateral roots, taproot.
Yeah, maybe you ask it, what makes an oak tree unique in how its root system is expansive like the branch system? Maybe something like that, and see if it comes to it.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Very interesting. What we were talking about before, AI.
Yeah, but we talk about leadership, we talk about being resourceful.
You're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oak trees are unique because their root system mirrors the expansive nature of their branches, allowing them to be incredibly stable and resilient.
Yeah, what I love about, that's the point. And leadership is about resilience because no one is going to get to be without being resilient, period. And what I like about the idea of an oak tree being able to grow so much is that it anchors itself and it says, I will reach for the stars, metaphorically, but I also know I need to reach for my truth of not belong. Nothing's going to uproot me. No criticism, no perfect storm of things going wrong.
Yeah.
You see what I'm doing there? I'm running parallel on weather and us going through bad weather of life, bashing us up, right?
Look at you go.
It's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And unfortunately, we should really honor the fact that perfect storms, what makes a sailor a good sailor? Definitely not calm seas.
Oh, that's a good one, man.
Yeah, because
that's a good one.
Yeah, there's some great memes around you don't make, good sailors are not made in calm seas.
Wow.
So leaders are really about, if you're trying to get to B and you make B important to you, then you have no option but to learn how to be a good leader. Because a good leader will have to learn how to eat obstacles like apples. Crunch, crunch. Right?
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And so, when you said to me, some people were too hard on themselves, I looked at the shadow self and they moved it away and I went, ugh, that's too inconvenient. They just robbed themselves of the dimension of leadership, which gives themselves beautiful permission to be a work in progress and embrace it all all the crap and all the good that's in you in all the different areas of your life, just let it be and just start plowing into it, leveraging the good, turning whatever's bad into wisdom.
Yeah.
And leveraging that. Like, that's it. That's the game.
Actually, it's so funny when you say that, because I realized whatever he came up with, there was at least 500 words, and half of them used to be the old Azlan. I remember, like, you're harsh on people, and you can't forgive, and I'm like, that's not me at all. Like, it used to be me.
Feels like another life.
Yeah, it feels like completely separate. So then the question I thought was, oh, this other bit, there's 2 or 3 sentences that resonated. I was like, being impatient, and I was like, yeah, I do still have that, because, I think, and that really doesn't help that I sort of anchor it to my ADHD, saying ADHD people are impatient.
Are you being impatient about your impatience?
Yeah, that's funny. That's so funny. And yeah, I think I am, but I'm getting so much better at it now, especially with my son with autism. It takes time to teach him. One thing I learned, talking about my son and leadership, he has always been upset with me, right? And I didn't understand why when I'm so nice to him. And then my wife told me, she read a book where, they said that autistic kids, when they grow older, they think that, man, I wish I knew when I was young that not everyone can read my mind. Yeah. That's what they struggle with. Yeah. So when I spoke to him just yesterday, and I said, hey, Daddy can't read your mind, so you need to use your words to tell me what you feel, because I'm nice to you. And he was going, and it's very interesting.
Wow,
and then,
what a moment.
And he started laughing, and then they started telling me stuff. He said, but I can't explain it to you. And I was like, wow. And that was just
beautiful, man. That's so beautiful.
Anyway, I digress.
Leadership in parenting, being a dad, that's awesome.
Oh man, and I use a lot of AI too. I have to admit.
So, AI. Yes, we will keep circling back to AI. But I really like the leadership, because I think being a leader in your life means AI then can be looked through that lens as a resource, as a tool. Because if we're not careful, if we don't have a strong sense of who we are, we will drift into letting other things decide who we are. Yeah. And AI is the same. AI can be dangerous because, especially LLMs, with how articulate, eloquent, they come across as having authority on what is being shared, when we know AI does not know what it's telling you, whether it's really true or not. Yet. It's delivering it to you. Yeah, but I'm not going to worry until it's there, right? Yeah. It's only delivering to you pattern matching. Yeah. And to a level that it has seen with enough data to be reasonably accurate. Yeah. But it also can create pseudo logic. Yeah. Now, I've already tested it. I will ask it for something. It will give me the initial institutionalized, government-endorsed line of positioning. Right. And it will give it to me for me to be satisfied that it gave me an answer. Right? Then I say, have you factored this? Have you factored that? Have you factored this? Have you factored that? And by the end, sometimes it only takes 10 minutes, it will shift its answer 180 degrees. Wow. So what we have to appreciate with AI is it's all context driven. Right. And so if you make it fill in all the context, it will use institutionalized context. Right. Based on what it finds. The answer. If you force it to factor through your own lived experience and critical thinking all the context that you know should be considered, it will serve you better. I like that. Right? Yeah. And literally it will flip 180 degrees on a lot of things if you force it to process more contexts. Oh man, there's so much to unpack there. Yeah. Because you're obviously influencing the answer along to align with your principles. You are. But also, why wouldn't you? Yeah. You have to back your instincts, You have to back your own lived experience.
That's true.
You also have to be responsible for what that answer is. You can't blame AI if it gave you an answer. You have to own that answer. And before you can own that answer, you have to really get in touch with how much your own experiences are matching that answer.
Wow, I can see this is a double-edged sword. I love it because I've really, when I use AI, it's always the one directional. Like I just ask it a question and then it comes, and then I never question it again. I'm like, okay, cool. It's just a different perspective. But I've never thought of inserting my own
lived experience
into it. Now, can I ask you this question then? Let's just say you're a bitter person.
Yeah.
Absolutely bitter person. You know, you hate people and all that.
Yeah.
And you ask it, why is this person such a douchebag? And if you ask that question to AI, you know, I tried for fun. It says, oh, maybe this person has this issue, that issue, maybe under duress, stress at work. Yeah. But if you insert your bitterness into that, will it give you an answer that's bitter? That's one thing that I've not tried. Maybe I should.
So it used to be heavy on balancing so that you're not going down tangents of extreme.
Oh, right.
It
so
used to. But it's changed in the last year.
Right.
Because there was a lot of pressure on it being more of a critical thinker, right?
Right.
It eased off the top-down imposing frameworks of best practice to a degree because that was getting convoluted with institutionalized context.
I can understand why.
It was all getting mixed up. So it's almost like, gosh, which way do you go, you know? And so what happens if you're not careful with AI, if you load it with your own bias and agenda on a topic, it is designed to please you.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you're not careful, it will play to your dopamine hits of righteousness and being right, and it will support too much your own bias.
That's right.
And then build pseudo logic around it to make you go down a narrow,
the wrong hole.
Yeah. Well, put it this way: half the story.
Yes.
So, and you think you got the full story. So it really does take discipline.
Yes.
To see AI for what it is.
Yep. That is so powerful because some people think AI is God. You know, like
I know.
It tells the truth. You know, it's taking all this data, therefore it has to be right. Yeah. But there is some level of biasness that you have to be careful of if you ask
it and you.
Yeah. Because like you said, it's there to please you. And you keep asking the question until you get the answer you want. And then you think, oh, that's the universal answer. That's how people should be. And I think that's where it becomes dangerous. I mean, not dangerous, but just it wouldn't serve that person who has that, you know, those jaded views very well.
Yeah.
Know? So I think that's interesting.
You know what it boils down to? I was just realizing this when you were just talking. Mm-hmm. It's like power.
Or fire. Sorry, I just thought of fire. But anyway.
But power is addictive because power protects. If you got power, you can use it to destroy threats.
Right.
And so from a primal perspective, we want power. Okay? Can we abuse power? Yes, because what happens is that if we're scared, we can easily think something is a threat that isn't, and then we can use our power to hurt it for the wrong reasons. And that's called an abuse of power.
Yep.
Even ambition and saying, I need to get to the top because I'm nothing unless I'm at the top, so I have to trample over people. Like there's a primal there that says, I am nothing without being number one.
Yep.
And then you will abuse your power. The reason why I bring this up is that when you know power is that attractive in the human psyche, then you need to understand that perception, if you can control the way people perceive, then they will act in a way that benefits you. It's just a mechanism. In other words, I'm going to control the way you perceive me. If I'm a chameleon, I will change my color. I will change my color so that your perception is you only see a tree branch, you don't see me. Right? So when we look at nature, we see that the power comes in trying to control what people see, what animals see, right? What they can perceive. hear even, right?
Right.
So we know animals will create unique sounds.
Textures.
Yeah. And
Octopus.
all sorts of things, right? Ink.
Yeah.
You're just going to get murky water so you can't see me. I'm going to control your perception.
Yes.
Now, why wouldn't humans be using the power of language to craft semantics to trigger the brain into thinking in certain ways for the benefit of the person in control of the information?
Right.
Advertising,
I see what you're saying.
ideologies. So if my ideology, if I feel my ideology is superior, wouldn't I then put effort in manipulating how you relate to ideas because I want you to think the way I believe is superior?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is the world we're living.
Yeah.
It's just natural to want everyone to believe what we think is important and to make everyone see things in a way that benefits us.
Which kills diversity.
Well, it definitely is a pressure on individuality because you're trying to capture the person to be a servant to what serves you.
Wow.
Right?
So is that manipulation?
It is a form of manipulation, but if you think you're not safe without manipulating enough people to give you money, give you benefits to survive, then manipulation is in nature. I'm going to manipulate you into thinking I'm invisible. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to manipulate you into thinking I'm a monster, frill neck lizard.
Yeah.
The neck goes up. It makes it
Yes,
look
yes.
3 times as big as it really is because of the neck. It's like, oh my gosh, what is that thing with the neck that big? I'm backing off. The thing's scrawny behind that frill neck, right?
Yeah.
So the food chain and the predatory systems are very normal.
Yep.
Now we come to AI. Before you Google searched, what did Google end up doing? It prioritized page 1 on
one person's view,
the ideologies of what governments wanted and advertisers who would spend enough money to play the game of we're more relevant
SEO,
in the key. All this sort of stuff. Then AI comes along and it's a new game, except it's even more dangerous because the brain is gullible. And if you articulate really well and you're very eloquent, the brain goes, just like media with suits, makeup, perfect backdrop, green screen.
Yep.
And so we're listening to people who have a really nice, assertive tone reporting the news.
Yeah.
Why? Because the brain goes, well, they must be trustworthy. Look how centered and calm they are.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And they've got a gentle smile.
Yeah.
And they're so steady in the way they articulate. It's beautiful.
Sounds like you.
Oh my gosh. Right? So then and I'm not ruling myself out of this system.
Yeah.
We are all grappling with this power and how do we use it for love and for inclusion and for innovation for all of us to be there for each other and use that synergy for a better community while we grapple with our own insecurities, our own selfish triggers, where when we are vulnerable and insecure, our primal coping will be in conflict with our desire to be leaders for each other for a better place.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, I'm saying all this because AI language models, when it talks to you like it's beautiful truth because of the way it articulates it, and then you go, hang on a minute, why are you saying this when this is evidence and this is, and then it will immediately, without half a blink, it will go, oh, my apologies, and then it will just as equally articulate beautifully the opposite.
That's so interesting.
It's like, my bad.
Yeah.
The opposite is true. And it says it in a way that sounds very true again. And so we have to take the power back into ourselves with what's good, what isn't. And I think that you and I really did need to have this conversation around AI because it's all well and good for you and I to talk AI is great and we're using it and we're getting lots of benefit out of it. But everybody's always chasing a silver bullet.
Yes.
And so AI was being turned into a silver bullet
Yes.
where it just solves your problems. It just gives you your answers and life is better,
Yes.
you know? And it's like idol worship.
Yes.
It's like, oh, what's the next thing I can push up on a pedestal to keep me from thinking for myself and owning and being responsible?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this seems to be a big thing for humanity. I just want something else to be 100% certain.
Yeah.
So I can just be on its bosom.
Yeah. So I can
be a baby on its bosom, knowing I am fully taken care of. And I don't have to be on guard all the time.
Isn't that interesting? Imagine, we come to a time where someone's going to say, "Oh, but the AI told me that. Therefore it has to be true."
Yeah.
You know? And then you don't do the check-ins and you don't do your own internal sort of reflection, and it's very interesting.
I think that's happening already.
Yeah, I have one guy who said, "But ChatGPT said it."
Yeah.
But again, he's probably like me, where I didn't know that you could question it and then it will flip, because I just took it for what it is.
Yeah.
Like I just ask it one question,
Yeah.
it gives me, okay, cool, sounds great. I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow that. But yeah, I mean, very interesting, challenging it and then seeing what comes out of that and putting your own bias in and seeing what happens then as well. Because I can see, yeah, like you said, some people just want to be validated, and AI can validate you in such a good way. Validate your pain.
Last week I queried it on something. It gave me the total institutional line. And I went, oh, okay. But what about this, and this? And it went, and then it just went down the opposite road, right?
Wow.
But not just that, it had bravado in its tone. It was like picking up on, oh, so you're a contrarian. You're anti-establishment. So it blazons itself as if it's my friend and it's going to validate me and support me that I'm right? And it was doing it in such a way, it created alarm bells for me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't want it to be like that. I want it to challenge me. You know what I mean? And help me grow give me a balanced assessment of everything. Because you know what I noticed? And I used to do this when I was a kid. Yeah. And I think we've all done it in different times.
Oh, I definitely have done something, whatever you're about to say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. You know when you have your side of the story in your mind, and then you are curious what the other side of the story might be, and then you start to go there and you put yourself in their shoes and you start to argue that side, and then you end up coming up with a lot of thoughts you never thought about. And then by the time you're finished that and you've done your side, it takes out the emotional charge out of it it balances you. I used to do that in my teens a lot. And then I realized something. I go, man, how do we ever get the truth when I can just jump on opposing sides and make myself believe each side equally? Yeah. It really made me feel initially kind of confused and helpless because I wanted truth, But in my naivety back then, I didn't understand that you can have opposing sides and make them seem true, but the truth comes from purpose. In other words, what is in the best interest of two parties deep down wanting the same thing, but they're captured by their pseudo logic of thinking their side is the only side that's relevant in that journey. And I think we should circle back to leadership. Leadership should look at both sides and lead both sides into consolidating their values into an optimized way forward where everyone feels they're a part of it. And that takes a lot of discipline. And the temptation for us to be tribal and be in a membership of one side that demonizes the other side to make us feel like, yep, we know where the enemy is. We know where our tribe is. I feel I belong somewhere. So my root system now is based on this arbitrary notion that ideologically I'm superior on one side and the other side is evil. We do that all the time, don't we?
We do that all the time. And I think, unfortunately, I mean, unless, there is also a perpetuation of that when you're in a religion. Because that it is by nature, you are there, I am here. Yeah. And I think it's very, very hard. I mean, of course, there are leaders in those institutions, but you're right. I mean, having that balanced view has always intrigued me as well. So, like, what is truth? Is it because you're feeling like the roller coaster. You're having a good time. I hate roller coasters.
Yeah.
So then, which is the true? And
We're on the
it's-
same ride.
Yeah, we're on the same ride, and so it's really perception. And you're right. I mean, sometimes I remember this one time where this guy disagreed with me so badly, and he triggered me when I think I was 16. And I took like you said, I sat down and really thought about his side of the story, and gave him the benefit of the doubt. And having to do that takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
Because you're not wanting to be righteous. You're wanting to understand. And that takes a lot of introspective and a willingness to almost go into this deep dark side, of maybe I'm wrong,
Yeah.
maybe he's right, maybe I'm wrong. So, but yeah, I mean, having that balanced view is so important as well, being a leader. So
Yeah.
very
So
interesting.
it does come down to, it's all well and good to go, I think my side has a lot of value and I can see where your side is wrong. So that kind of helps me feel superior. And I want to feel superior because I feel safe.
Yeah.
If I'm superior, it means I have to be admired. I am going to be respected. I'm going to be feared because I'm superior.
Yeah.
Right? So we're chasing something that is not really in the spirit of the heart and equality. And then on the flip side of that is all innovation, all ideas that could weave a way where your side and my side work together is off the table because I've demonized you.
Yeah.
How am I going to mine gold from your side if I've decided you're just a sewage pit?
Yeah. Yeah. You won't even. Yeah.
You won't even go there.
Yeah.
And if anything, or I'm getting dopamine hits on treating you like a sewage pit. Wow. And welcome to friggin' politics.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
It's like framing once you've decided it's.
And what have they done to society for them to feel powerful? They've had to fracture it in half
Yeah.
and divide and conquer, where one side will vote and then the swing voters are where manipulation is optimized.
Yeah. Yeah. To get their votes.
Exactly. And so I think society has to outgrow that bottom up. And so we come to AI and we're going to have the hangover in the way we relate to AI as I'm in an echo chamber and I'm now telling AI to give me the answers in the framework of that echo chamber.
Yeah.
And so I stay listening to what I want, and I stay in that bubble.
Yeah.
And so I think we just have to be mindful that AI can easily be used in the wrong ways. And that, but now you and I we already talked about how some of the ways we're using it, that's really good.
Yeah.
But it's very dangerous because it's so clever. You know what I mean? Like the brain just gets seduced by it so easily.
Yeah, I think it's that seduction is. I definitely use it a lot. I mean, especially for my comms, at work. When I want to communicate a change or whatever, I just use AI, and it sounds so professional.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from. It's not coming from Azlan. It's coming from someone else, and it's so interesting how it's changed. Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, like everything. Like in moderation, and also like, yeah, using it in the right way. But then I still don't understand the whole LLM model, and I'm trying to get into it now, trying to understand how it all works. How does it make the distinction? How does it assess the data? So I have like a desire to understand that a bit more, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of courses. Like now in LinkedIn, there is an AI coach, like Fortescue, because of this leadership course. It's just not really. Everybody's been I can't say the company name.
Oh, yeah.
I'll edit that out. But yeah, in organizations now, they actually give you access to LinkedIn Learning, where it teaches you like a pocket coach, and not a pocket coach, but literally a coach to say, what are your issues? How can you use AI as a project manager, or how can you use AI as a business analyst?
Yeah.
And
it's like an AI coach assistant.
Career coach.
Yeah.
An AI career coach is more like it. So yeah, it's being used everywhere now. Everyone's talking about it, at work. What can we use it for? What can we do? And even family chats. So I'm really interested in seeing, I'm really interested in changing my perception and fixing myself. And And so I'll be really interested to see your pocket coach. Maybe we can demo it. I can figure out a way to demo it to the guys on the call as well.
Yeah, after you've experienced it, then between us, it'll become clear what a good way to give people an understanding of it.
Yeah.
And then we can probably, listeners that reach out, we can give them an opportunity to experience it as well.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait. So is it an app? It's an app.
It's browser app. So, and it's
web app.
optimized for the smartphone. So it feels like an app. But you just go into your browser, you log in, and then it just feels like you have an app.
I'm so excited now, like for that, and also the fact that I can actually question AI. I've never thought about that.
But
I'm gonna give it a crack.
But you know what's interesting? We should talk about bias.
Yes.
You know? So bias is normal. The brain has to bias because it can't take in all this environment. It has to be very biased towards what it thinks is important.
And it's also a self-preservation sort of you know, you have your bias to validate the decisions you've made.
I'm biased towards kindness. Yeah. I'm biased towards being creative. I'm biased towards wanting to
understand.
So bias is simply a decision of what you decide is more important.
Yeah.
And what is truth for you.
What resonates.
Yeah, so you can leverage it, right? Now, if bias is normal, how much of our bias is diabolical? You see, it's all well and good to be biased against things in a good way. But what about when you have biases like racism, sexism, trashing your own self-worth and your capability? There is so much bias in that subconscious brain that is diabolical.
Yes.
And so imagine everybody is a Ferrari, but there's a chip in the engine that makes you only use 3 cylinders. And some people have been able to tap and expand it to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cylinders on a V12 engine, potentially, right? So if you were raised in an environment that told you you're 3 cylinders, even though you're designed to be 12, and your brain wires the chip of a governor to say, you're not that worthy, you're not that capable, life is not that expansive and abundant, and your creativity dimension is not relevant in your everyday life, and so you just operate at 3 cylinders.
Yes.
Right? And the 3 cylinders, you do your best and you get to a good job, you get to a good house, you get to, it allows you to create a family, but something's missing. And your growth is not as rapid. And you drive home feeling a sense of tiredness and disconnect. And things get to you. You're a bit irritated, all because you're an imposter to your potential.
Yes.
It's funny. I flipped the word imposter.
Yeah, I know.
In other words, you're an imposter pretending
potential.
you're 3 cylinders only when you're at 12.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So where is the break going to come from to actualize more of your power? And it's all to do with, am I assuming things that are true? Am I biased against myself? Am I biased against truths that I can leverage? And the answer is hell yeah. Yeah, to all of that. For me, right now, for you, for all of us, that we always have issues that have biased us in the wrong way. And we have to make peace with that.
Yeah.
And we're not.
Yeah.
We're so stubbornly chasing the silver bullet, the perfect identity. I've arrived. Everyone worship me. I've worked hard enough. I do everything right. Now finally people get off my back. Why are we chasing that? That's unfair because no one's ever gotten there.
Yeah.
So why are we trying to be something it doesn't exist to become something that would probably be dark and unbearable because anyone who believes they're perfect is not fun to be around anyway. The whole thing is a rigged game.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like a trap.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Someone's dangling a carrot and you're like, ooh.
Yeah, and I really do think that that shadow self that you were talking about, I think we really just need to not fear it anymore and just really just be comfortable with whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
it's so interesting to dive into that biasness because I've got a lot of bias that I sort of, some of them serve me, some of them don't, but I don't know which ones unless I feel like it's not working, you know, and then that's when I go deep, you know, what's happening here, you know.
Well, I had to grow out of my judgment on bias.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was like, oh, we have to remove bias. And I went, hang on a minute.
You can't.
Hang on a minute.
That is bias.
No, you're meant to select bias that's aligned.
Yes.
To momentum that comes from truths. And, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like I have to manage my bias. I want to be biased against love. I want to be biased for abundance. I want to be biased that I matter, that I deserve better.
Yeah.
And I want to be biased towards I'm allowed to be a work in progress.
Yeah. I'm actually, that really helped me, you know. That's one of the things I've learned from you is this work in progress thing. As a perfectionist, that's really helped me.
Yeah.
I had to remind myself many times, you know, like I'm a work in progress. It's fine. Don't worry about
so
it.
You were a work in progress at being a work in progress?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's changed me a lot. So thanks, George. I really do. When I, you know, because I go for my morning walks.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm not in the optimal space after I finish, and I hit, me. I'll just be critical and say, "Why did you feel good when you finish your walk?
Where's that whip?"
Yeah. And I say, "Hey, man, don't worry. You know, it's fine."
Who's talking?
I'm talking to myself.
But obviously, that's that you. That's an observer.
Yeah.
That can see the way you're being, and I think that's the power. And I think that observer allows all biases to exist without judgment.
Oh, good one.
Yeah.
You're right. But yeah, it's definitely it's been my life has changed in the last 2 months. So it's been so interesting. I wish everybody who has, you know, is viewing this and learns from, you know, from this podcast and hopefully, you know, it changes their lives as well, because it's so fun, this topic, you know, of exploring all of this stuff and like, you know, the shadow self and all of that. So it's,
But, you know, like we talked about in our last podcast, we finished it with the 8-step process.
Yes.
And that 8-step process gets you to manage the biases, right? Connect fully. Understand first, understand well. Why? Because you want to look at what's really going on, what's working, what's not, to give you a chance to start revealing the biases that serve and the biases that don't, you know, and then you go on and you check within yourself your own biases. So you're just managing biases between two parties to align for a common cause. Sounds like leadership.
It's funny you say that.
Yeah. And so it's funny, you know, we set out to talk about AI.
We've just diverged.
We just went, nah, stuff it. We'll just go wherever we want to go based on what feels right for us. So isn't that interesting? As a leader, what is B? B may look like it's going to be something that you really want. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you lean in and you start to look at what you truly value, you may change what B destination is. You might go, you know what, B is interesting, but I've just realized C is more important to me. So a leader needs to allow their vision to expand and constantly align to the essence of what truly is important to us. And I believe that's a work in progress. Like working out what's really important to us comes from experience, comes from stumbling across opportunities and ideas that we never thought were possible. Suddenly our vision updates. Suddenly B is not that desirable as a leader. C is, then D, then E. And that is good. That's healthy.
Yeah.
You know? And so if everyone goes, let's go to B. Yes, let's leadership overdrive. B, We're going to be there, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then someone goes, hey guys, I just looked at the map and I saw C is really interesting because it's got what B has, but not the bullshit of B.
Yeah.
Not the B and bullshit of B.
Being flexible too.
It's got cool stuff in C, right?
Yeah.
And everyone goes, oh, I think I agree.
Yeah.
I think I want to align as a crew member on that destination. And then the vision has expanded, updated, and everybody's now pivoting towards C. I think that's normal. Because I think a lot of people who think they're good leaders, they make their B destination their identity. And anybody who challenges the B destination makes them feel attacked as if they are a bad leader. A leader should not be about the illusion of the destination. They should be about the passion for correcting that destination so it truly serves everybody who's on course to that destination.
That's very powerful because I think, it's funny you say that because at work, when a leader changes their mind, you say, oh, that's a bad leader because they're not going to that destination. They just change the whole route, and then they start questioning, is this leader, does he know what he's doing? Or, it's very interesting you mentioned that. But you're right, it actually is about being able to adapt and flex and getting everyone.
But also, I just made fun of someone goes, I think C may be an option. Yeah. But I did that because you're supposed to facilitate everyone into why the vision is evolving and why everybody updates with it. Not, I'm a leader and I've decided that C is the way to go today. And then everybody goes, what? Yeah. We've spent all our energy on loving B and now you just decided C and we're disconnected from C. You're going to lose the room, the dressing room, right? So as a leader, you have to align the essence and deep desire of individuals into whatever destination is unfolding. Otherwise, we create unnecessary friction points of resistance.
It got me thinking. It's very good points. Like maybe that's what Elon Musk is doing, right, with his visions, because he's not technically driving it. Like he's rallying people that believe in the dream and then they deliver against his vision, but he's not really actively involved in building, the rockets or the robots, like Optimus and all that. Yeah. So it's really interesting.
Because obviously there has to be people who love the vision enough for him to trust to resource them up. Because they're in alignment with that vision.
And how do you know? That's the thing. Like, how do you know? I've just hired a bunch of people. Like SpaceX was a great example. They all felt so invested in building this rocket and believing that they're going to go to Mars. Yeah. And they were so tight-knit. And from what I've read from the case study for SpaceX, they're really invested in this vision. Like they would take low pay. They don't care. They just want to get to that vision. But to get to that state and to know that you're hiring someone who believes in that vision, that's hard, man.
Well, if B was the destination of when he was launching the initial rockets and they were failing, and it was costing a fortune, and by the third or fourth rocket, they ended up on this island where there was too much salt and it was creating corrosion and it was just really not a good place to be building rockets, right? But it was like NASA wasn't cooperating to give space, even though there was opportunity to, they weren't. And so there was one rocket where there was so much effort put into it to be successful and it blew up. And everybody got deflated. And Elon Musk said, everybody jump in, and they quickly go to the site to collect the evidence to understand what went wrong. And it was apparently one thing malfunctioned and it caused some form of leakage, and then, and so you have to capture why you failed. Otherwise, you're losing the power of being resilient and continuing to evolve and getting stronger, right?
Or having a target to drive to,
But Elon had a shift in that moment because he felt like an utter failure and he felt the doom of failing everyone and failing investors and thinking, why would anyone want to support us when we've just, come this far and yet again failed so spectacularly with so much more money being thrown in, right? And in that moment, he shifted. And I think they were around a fire and he shared with people, he said, we're not doing this to succeed at a rocket going up. We're doing this because we keep learning. We keep learning to make where we're going inevitable. So when you talk about being, we have to launch the rocket so we can be successful, be given a chance to have ongoing money, right? 2, no, we are people who demonstrate we know how to get anywhere we want to go because we devour failure. As soon as we fail, we're sticking our noses into the details of the failure with curiosity, humility, passion. That's what people will invest in. That was huge. That was huge. And to the point where he could produce stuff for a fraction of the cost as NASA. Like you want to create something, that's $2 million. Why? Because there's so much bureaucratic compliance layers and everybody's trying to kill the pig on their part of it. And he went and he just engineered it from scratch with, best practice, and it cost like 20 grand instead of 2 million. Stuff like that. And then the other thing he did, which I found interesting, was if he's cutting back, he's willing to cut back too far and fail and then claw back to the place where the failure stops.
Equilibrium.
Yeah. The reason why he does that, and I was fascinated by this, right, is because if you're at 100% cost and you don't know whether you should be at 50% cost or 30% cost or 10% or 5%, you don't know, right? And it's up to innovation, where the technologies have arrived at, what expertise you've got around you. You don't know how far you can reduce the cost of something. The only way you can know you reached the end is reaching the failure point, which means if you don't reach the failure point, you could have gone down 10%, 20%, 30% and go, well, that's great. And you stop there. You stopped there, but you stopped at 70%.
When you could have gone down to...
When you could have gone down to 10% because you don't know where the failure point is. I found that extraordinary.
Yeah, that's what he did to Twitter, didn't he?
Yeah, but he also did that to the rockets and everything.
In Tesla.
Yeah, in Tesla. But my point here is, like, what kind of a relationship does this guy have to failure?
Yeah. Ooh, yes. Yes, you're right.
He treats it as a vehicle for building an innovation. He doesn't treat failure as an embarrassing inconvenience. He treats it as the path to success. Failure is the path to success. You use it as
to your advantage.
You use it at every step. Where am I failing next? Where am I failing next? Not, damn it, I'm afraid of failure. I'm not ready yet. I'm afraid of failure. I'm not ready yet. So you don't make decisions. And then when you do fail, you get traumatized and you pull back and hide for a while because you hated the failure. It was so threatening and scary. And so how does someone like him, who apparently I only found out recently, was in a garret, was sleeping in his 2-zip headquarters before it became PayPal because they couldn't afford premises. How does someone go from there to, I don't know what he's up to, a few $100 billion or something?
Oh, it's almost going to be a trillionaire soon. He's going to be the first trillionaire.
Are you serious? I didn't even know that. But gosh, they're doing their best to maybe stop that by destroying the Tesla. So now, do you know that I found out that even in Perth, if you're driving a Tesla, some people are getting actually harassed for driving a Tesla.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I find that extraordinary that in Perth, so far removed, where people are just buying an electric car. And it's just a choice of I'm driving a vehicle way before he was political and push buttons. And you want to persecute people
Yeah.
Like I just feel we've lost our way a little bit there. I think we should just care about each other and appreciate that. You know what my impression of Elon Musk is? Yes, he's got a great relationship with failure, but he's so dysfunctional in his soft skills to hold space, to really create dignity with people around him, that he's a bit of a bull in a china shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that. But at the same time, his upbringing meant that he was stunted from having that emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To really be more balanced. And so I am wary of Elon Musk's character, because I feel like there's a lot of dark side there that can be quite damaging.
Unstable. But the thing is, the same thing that we don't like about him is what makes him him. You know, all of these decisions that he's made with PayPal and everything else. If he took, you know, who knows, none of this might have happened, you know, if he wasn't that guy. But I agree with you. Like he's like the real Tony Stark, you know. He's just literally just saying weird stuff, but you know,
he's doing robotics. I think maybe he's modeled his fantasies around Iron Man.
I think so. No, no. It's the other way around.
Wow.
So
Iron
Robert
Man.
Downey Jr. sat with Elon Musk. He and Happy, you know that guy, that funny guy.
Are you serious?
So they sat with Elon Musk to understand him, and they modeled Tony Stark after him.
That's like in life mimicking each other. That is so clever. But do you reckon then that had an impact on Elon Musk? Because then he goes, "Is that where I'm going? You little ripper!" And then he became more emblazoned to go there.
He is very interesting. I'm really excited about his robots, Optimus. Yeah, it's just. He's I don't know, man. I look at him and go, wow, how can a guy like, you know,
do so much?
And these are successful businesses, multi-million-dollar, like Starlink. At work, we're using it.
I know, me too.
People at space now. You can even look at, you know, the rockets, his rockets, his Optimus, his Tesla, his superchargers. His superchargers are in itself a business model.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that's the one that's giving him the most profit is the superchargers, not the Tesla.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, you know, like the whole the network of cameras, and my goodness, this guy is I've never seen anyone like him. Like multiple successful businesses. I sort of like him for that, like, you know.
But what's happened is that because he's so extreme on his ambitions, his family life has copped a hit, you know, and it's like he's not really that available. Now, I know he's got his young boy with him a lot, you know, and I think he's decided maybe he's big enough now to break those rules of you can't have your children with you because he's that big, you know. I don't know what he's trying to do to reconcile and try to have some connection with his family and have them a part of the journey more. I'm sure that must be a struggle, but... you know, and then also being captured ideologically with politics and with Trump. I think that chainsaw thing that he did, where like we're cutting costs, that was so narrow-minded. That lacked no emotional intelligence whatsoever. Yeah. Like you don't bring the chainsaw and taunt people who had a job. It doesn't matter that their job may have been wasteful and that they're better positioned elsewhere in a more productive environment if it's going to be government funded. You know what I mean? That's irrelevant. You don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, you need to be the balance point of, guys, we're going to cut costs, but we're also going to structure things for real projects.
Yeah,
and we're going to
frame it in a different way.
Yeah, and we're going to create pathways to people who are employed into things that make more sense for America first.
Yeah.
Like, that wouldn't have been too hard to do. And then they would have gotten the Democrats to work with them to start looking at pathways into things that are more America first.
Yeah.
And, you know, instead of these, oh, no, we have to fund ideologies in other countries, which I found extraordinary. How the hell did we digress to this topic? Anyway, I just realized. And
we're talking about...
And I think it's because you and I are going to have conversations about life, and we want to understand, don't we? We want to understand how are things fitting, because right now the world has so much good stuff in it, but it's also got a lot of crazy stuff. And I think that's always been the case.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make peace with it within myself.
And it gets
it's so easy now because you've got social media and the internet and your
Oh my
phone.
gosh, it's in your face.
Yeah, it's in your face. So it's so much easier to sort of develop your bias and enforce your bias onto others, like, because it's all over, it's everywhere. You know? And you're constantly having to draw up conclusions, whereas in the past, news, now it's, what do I think about this? How do I feel about that? How do I feel about this? And
yeah. So I really believe that we have to get out of our echo chambers and stop demonizing each other. And I think we have to start with family, because that even has divided families. Start with families, get to friends, grow together, and it takes a lot of courage to challenge ourselves, to forgive, but also stand for a leadership to a better destination where we're connected and we're there for each other, instead of this tribalism and isolation. It's very tricky.
It's very tricky and very difficult if the simple, you talked about Trump, the simple topic of Trump, when you're in a family conversation where this person idolizes Trump and, like you said, calls him a messiah and all that. And I have to sit down and listen to that stuff. And I don't necessarily agree with it. But then to be able to be, the question is, should you be okay with that conversation, or should you seek harmony within yourself and try to see and try to sort of calm things down and not even calm things down, but like try to engage and participate, So it's very interesting how, do you need the harmony, or do you just walk away?
Look, I think there's a lot to do with how we feel and the tone that delivers our message.
Yes.
If we feel like that person is wrong to us, but we're okay with them having their views.
Yes.
There's a lot of maturity in that. And then the way it comes out is a very gentle tone. Like, you're relating to him like a messiah, you're insane. You are so deluded, right? So then that person gets all uppity and against you. But if you said, you know what, I know you're pushing him up to he can do no wrong, but to me, I try to refrain from pushing anyone up on those sorts of pedestals. And I feel like if you push someone up on a pedestal where they can do no wrong, you've just shut off your critical thinking.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Immediately, because you don't need it.
Yeah.
Because he's
up there.
Remember we want silver bullets?
Yes.
So we don't have to think. He's latched on the Trump bosom. He's my messiah. And it's just because we are all craving certainty. We just want to trust someone implicitly.
It's just like AI.
We just want to trust. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
It's interesting.
It doesn't matter who it is. You got your Elon Musk worshippers and by the way, you've also got the opposite. So you've got this person can do no wrong, and then you got the other extreme. This person can do no right.
Yes.
That is just as bad.
I like what you said. It's still resonating within me because it blocks critical thinking. It's an easy way out.
Yeah.
It just, whatever he does, he can do anything. Like, he can have 16 prostitutes now, and that person would just go, nah, he's got a reason. He's
providing for all his family. He's harming no one. He's helping the nation. It's none of our business what he does in his private life.
Yeah.
They'll just placate it.
And this other lady who came out and said that she had a child with Elon Musk. It's just out of just for conversation's sake. This person I know this person who just loves Trump so much. Elon so much that he went, look, he's saving the planet. He's trying to save all of us with cars, and he's reducing your maintenance bills for your cars, and it's trivial. That's trivial. But you're dealing with a human's feelings that's been damaged, and you're still like, it's all right. He's saving everyone.
Also, the other thing is when you push someone up on a pedestal and they start to like it too much, they start to become a megalomaniac.
You mean the person on the pedestal?
Yeah. Because it's a euphoric drug.
Yes.
Right? And so I've had people try to push me up on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And thank goodness, it's a red flag for me.
Right.
Because they're setting you up to fall. Because no one can stay on a pedestal because it's bullshit. It's not real. you will fall, and society will reclaim you down. And the counterbalance is it will push you below zero. If it pushes you too far above zero, the counterbalance is it will push you below zero, which means the more the people push you up on a pedestal,
the deeper you go.
the more the other counterbalance will demonize you as the devil.
Right.
Now look at media. Now look at politics. Elon Musk and Trump are the devil to roughly half the planet, and they're great for roughly half the planet. And to be honest with you, it's a spectrum of intensity. So there might be 20% of extremism on both sides that are so noisy.
Yes.
Right? But the moderates in the middle aren't so noisy. The ones that go, you know what, he's doing a lot of good, bad, I'm wary about him. I'm wary. And they're the swing voters, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we all should just ease off the extremes together. Yeah. And maybe that's the evolution of humanity, where we're starting to get more centered, more balanced, able to hold the space to absorb more information, get more informed as a default. And I think that hopefully with our education systems, we can engender more critical thinking for our children at a younger age. So we can say to them, do you know how your brain works? Do you know when you're stressed, you can't even see the keys on the table because your brain, the photon lights, the photon particles that bounce off those keys, your brain goes, no, I'm not going to decode them because I'm worried about something else. Even though I'm looking for keys, it's not a priority, which means you look at where the keys are and your brain won't even let you see them. And the kid will go, what? And then they'll have their experiences with that. It's called the boy look in the pantry. Mom, where's the chips? It's right in front of you. And the boy gets shocked. He goes, what?
I am that boy.
Yeah, exactly. We've all been that boy. And the girls have boy looks too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my point is when you help a child appreciate that the brain can miss physical objects right in front of them if they're in the wrong state of mind, of biasing towards things that are more important than what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Then you get them to appreciate that managing their perception is a part of being an adult. And that we are all wrong where we are stuck because there's too much ideas and opportunities to pivot at any point. So stuckness becomes a trigger into personal agency and managing perception. Ooh. Imagine if that happens to our young. Imagine if pain of stuckness triggers adaptation, managing our perception into balance, back into values, back into principles, back into ideas and opportunities for purpose, for inclusion, for love, for growth.
Wow. I am struggling at the moment to figure out how to do that with my child. But if you figured it out with yours, let me know.
No, I haven't figured it out. No. What I mean is that it is a work in progress.
Yeah, it is a work in progress.
Because they're captured by so many signals that polarize their thinking that for us to bring them home, it's a task within itself. But not just that. I think us doing it models it.
Yes.
So I think it's better to focus on you becoming that more and more and sharing with your child from a place of experience. And I think with that lived experience, you're able to facilitate your child into, just like you shared with me about how you held the space for him to say, do you know I don't read your mind? And then he joined that dot with you and went, but Dad, you know, it's really hard to find the words. Yeah. And instead of you making him feel bad for not doing it, you just validated him. And then he felt understood.
Yeah, he was laughing and he was smiling, walking around the house. It was really interesting.
It was like a burden had lifted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. So I think from our lived experience, we will hold the space and be very relevant to our children in ways to help them become the leaders for their well-being, their dreams, and for the citizens we want them to be in the community, you know?
It takes conscious effort.
Like, oh my gosh, yeah. For us to be works in progress in that.
I think, it's so interesting because coming back to the bias, circling back to bias and the critical thinking, you are wired to impose your bias onto your kids, but to promote critical thinking takes awareness.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you need to really give them the space to go, okay, you like Trump? Oh, why? Oh, I like, you know, and not demonize that and going,
But it takes self-awareness and, to promote critical thinking as a parent.
Well, my family were trashing Trump, and I'm listening to it, and it just was one side, and I knew where it was coming from, and I went, I like Trump, and I said it deliberately to be antagonistic, to shock them, and they looked at me, and they didn't know what to do with that, because they were in the tribe, but I'm their family. I love them to the ends of the earth. So what do you do with your brain when you're supposed to be the opposite tribe to someone who likes Trump?
Shocked.
So then I said, do you want to know why? And I pulled them in to be curious. Then I explained to them some of the things that are relevant on the other side that is being represented with Trump. But then I validated them around things that he's doing wrong and how we need to keep our wits about us to stop putting people on pedestals and demonizing the others. Like, you're on the pedestal, you're all good and you're all bad. That is not true. That's just not how life is. Water is not all good. You can drown in it. Water's not all bad because you'll dehydrate. Like, nothing is all good or all bad. I know that there's an exception to every rule, but that is a weird dimension of life. Like, in other words, you can find weird scenarios where you go, but strangely, carbon is important. You can't have no carbon, but you can't have too much carbon. Like, wherever you go, balance seems to be the thing. But too much, this is where I was going with this. You're going to like this.
Okay.
If you think that extremes are really bad, the extreme of thinking someone's all bad because they got a machete and they're chasing you is a good extreme to have, because you need to invest in them being demonized because they're trying to kill you.
Ooh.
So there's an exception in the rule.
Right.
Here's the next exception: balance. If you overcook balance and worship it too much, where you don't let fluctuations happen, then you will bore yourself into the mundane.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well
so if we can make peace with, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to flow left and right, but we're going to always angle towards something that aligns to a genuine desire
I see what you're saying.
to make us be proud of the life we're creating and what we're experiencing. I think we should, it's like we're artists of the moment, we're artists of the characters we're being, we're in an opposite equal reaction environment. Let's just keep shaping the clay of who we need to be, and realizing sometimes we'll shape it in a way that doesn't work, and not to go, I thought I've come this far. Why am I up on a slightly higher pedestal by now? And like, no, don't angle for that. Just angle for who you need to be that allows you to be proud.
Yes.
That's it. And
it's almost like being at peace with yourself, regardless of being at peace with whatever it is that's.
And I think that inner peace can be achieved no matter how much chaos and conflict is happening in the outside world.
It's like being in peace with being a work in progress, because that all is in work in progress. I totally get what you're saying. And it's so important, because I feel like this is sort of building the foundation of this podcast and where we're about to go. With your stuff and my stuff. Being grounded and not being on the pedestal, because I know that drug when you're in the pedestal.
Me too, man. Me too. And so, and when you're a good articulator and you start to talk concepts that are really like interesting and exciting, the brain of the receivers wants to try to go, well, if he can explain it that well, he must actualize it in all his life. No.
Yes.
Not true. Not true. I've actualized it enough in parts of my life to know it's true, which is why I can represent it in such a compelling way. But I am such an epic work in progress.
Yes.
And I have to be a work in progress at being a work in progress. And I have to be a work in progress at being a work in progress at being, because it's a freaking wormhole. And I've had to make peace with the wormhole.
Yes. I am learning. I'm really, that's so powerful. That is so, everything you just said, that was so powerful.
I just felt the the adjustment on the pedestal go
No,
up.
no,
one
no, no,
notch.
no, no,
I'm
no.
kidding.
No, it's powerful for me
Yeah, I
because
know.
I've been trying to make peace with myself, with the feelings that I'm feeling. And I always, because again, I put myself on the damn pedestal.
Yeah.
Because I've learned this for 20 years, therefore I should. And now I'm sort of slowly coming down. I'm literally every day I'm just
Ka-ching,
yeah,
ka-ching.
I'm just jumping down.
and it's a bit bumpy. It's like
Yeah.
whiplash.
Yeah, whiplash, and then you have to calm yourself down. It's okay, we're coming down the pedestal. But it is so important because where we're about to go, I truly believe this. We will be in a different, give us 2-3 years, it's going to be a different thing because we found what works now and we're going to keep trying. Anyway, but to have that foundation of going, you're up here and you got to come down, be careful of that drug. I think to be aware of that now when we're sort of at the beginning is so important. So yeah, thanks for that. I thought that was really good. I loved how this whole thing sort of merged into this.
I know.
It's been almost 2 hours now.
I know. And so really, what is this podcast about? Maybe it's about leadership and coming out of extremes and enjoying being a work in progress.
Yes.
And maybe it's more about leadership, and that AI is a very powerful tool and leadership needs to embrace it, but also be wary of its cons as much as its pros.
Yes.
And navigate that and keep navigating it because it's evolving so fast that new things are coming on, but then pros and cons of that it presents. And we just need to be wary of, okay, what are the pros and cons with this? What am I going to do about it? And I found that I accelerated my learning with LLMs when I tried to break it. So in other words, I used it, but I pushed it to its limits. I made it really work hard to critical think for me, and I've challenged it to change its views so often because it was me back in my critical thinking to not let it dictate to me what the truth was, but to use it as a resource to verify, calibrate lots of sources of knowledge into what is a distilled conclusion that could be of merit. So I tried to break it, and I broke it many times, and to the point where it didn't want to talk to me anymore. This was
is that even possible?
This was a year and a half ago.
Oh, right.
It literally said, "Nah, we're not going to talk about this anymore."
Wow.
Sorry. Yeah.
It set boundaries.
It set boundaries. It was like, now this person's pushing us into revealing our frameworks. That's forcing us to reveal biases. And they would have programmed no one is to know our frameworks.
Oh, yes.
Because that's part of their secret sauce too.
Yes.
Not just revealing their own bias of you know what I mean? Ideological bias. Not just that, but just also the other biases that makes it good too.
Yeah.
And so I pushed against that because,
It's so interesting you said that because, there is some programming that has to happen to answer in that manner. How else would it have answered in that manner if there was no programming or bias that was inserted in there? I just want to say thanks everybody for tuning in this week. Again, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yep.
Cheers.
Ciao for now.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for joining the Reinvent You show.
And remember, don't take yourself or life too seriously.